The National Transportation Safety Board wants you to believe the crash of UPS Flight 2976 was a clean, straightforward, tragic accident. A mechanical failure. Case closed. Nothing more to see. But when you look closely at what their preliminary report actually doesn't explain, the picture gets a lot darker. On November 4th, 2025, a massive cargo plane fell from the sky over Louisville, Kentucky, killing 3 crew members and 11 people on the ground and leaving more than 20 injured. The NTSB quickly attributed the disaster to catastrophic metal fatigue in the engine pylon, presenting it as a clear-cut case. However, the facts emerging around this incident suggest the official narrative may be leaving out the most critical parts, raising serious questions about its completeness. And maybe, just maybe, the neat story protects powerful corporate and government interests far more than it protects the truth. This isn't just about what happened in Louisville. It's about what we're not being told and the implications for public trust and safety. According to the NTSB, UPS Flight 2976, a McDonnell Douglas MD-11, began its takeoff roll from Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport. Seconds later, the unthinkable happened. The left engine and its pylon violently tore away from the aircraft, a catastrophic failure. Without power and without control, the cargo jet slammed into an industrial area, creating a massive explosion visible across the city. Very quickly, federal investigators recovered the flight recorders and meticulously rebuilt their timeline of events. Within weeks, the NTSB released its preliminary summary, concluding that metal fatigue was the primary cause. Fatigue cracks in the pylon mount, they stated, failed under stress, causing the engine to detach, a seemingly straightforward explanation. The FAA followed this with an emergency airworthiness directive, and UPS grounded its MD-11s for inspection, a swift institutional response. On the surface, this was a textbook institutional response, fast, organized, and clean, designed to reassure the public. But the closer you look, the more this simple story starts to fall apart, revealing inconsistencies and unanswered questions. Here's the first problem: the plane itself. According to publicly filed lawsuits, this wasn't just any MD-11. Insiders described it as an old, tired aircraft with chronic problems, a history that should have raised red flags. Records show that just before the crash, the plane spent roughly 6 weeks in heavy repair, early September through mid-October, addressing a cracked fuel tank and structural corrosion in the beams. Let's be clear, aircraft don't get grounded for 6 weeks because of minor cosmetic issues. These were serious structural concerns. So, how did an aircraft with a repaired fuel tank, corrosion mitigation, and structural work get cleared to fly, and then suffer catastrophic structural failure just weeks later? The preliminary report doesn't even attempt to connect these dots, leaving a significant gap in its explanation. Instead, it isolates the failure to one pylon on one wing, presenting it as an isolated incident rather than a systemic issue. But fatigue cracks do not grow overnight. They develop slowly over time, usually detectable through routine inspections. That raises a glaring question. Were the pylon cracks truly independent, or were they part of a larger systemic issue that regulators and the airline failed to recognize or chose not to? And the timing. An aircraft fresh out of major structural repair suddenly experiences catastrophic structural failure? That's a coincidence that even the most trusting observers struggle to accept at face value, demanding a deeper inquiry. In aviation, downtime is expensive. A grounded plane bleeds money every single day, creating immense financial pressure. And for a cargo airline operating on razor-thin efficiency margins, the pressure to keep aging aircraft flying is immense, often overriding safety concerns. That pressure is at the heart of several wrongful death lawsuits filed by victims' families, seeking accountability and justice. These suits allege that UPS, Boeing, and GE all knew about serious safety concerns in the aging MD-11 fleet, but continued operating them, prioritizing profit over safety. They claim executives were aware of widespread structural issues across multiple aircraft, not just the one that crashed, indicating a systemic problem. Now, to be absolutely clear, these allegations are not proven facts. They are claims made in ongoing litigation, awaiting judicial review. But they raise a chilling question. If corporate leadership allegedly knew substantial structural risks existed, is it believable that federal regulators didn't? Because if the FAA did know and failed to intervene, the consequences would be staggering, undermining public trust in aviation safety. If you believe transparency matters more than corporate profit or bureaucratic convenience, take a second to like this video, subscribe to The Right Slant, and hit that notification bell. Your support helps independent voices keep asking the questions others won't. Back to the investigation. Now comes the uncomfortable question. Why did the NTSB frame this so narrowly, focusing on a single cause? Some aviation analysts noted that early reports barely emphasized the full engine separation, arguably the most shocking mechanical failure possible on a commercial aircraft. Instead, the narrative was shaped around metal fatigue, a small, convenient truth that avoids a potentially bigger one. In intelligence circles, there's a term for this approach, a limited hangout. You admit the smaller problem so you don't have to deal with the larger disaster behind it. By focusing on a single pylon, the NTSB avoids immediate scrutiny of the aircraft's broader maintenance record and the 6-week structural repair period. It also sidesteps potential inspection failures, FAA oversight responsibility, and whether this issue threatens other aircraft in the fleet. A narrow preliminary finding effectively shields both UPS and the FAA from deeper accountability, at least for now, delaying true transparency. And then there's the timeline. Final reports can take years, allowing public attention to wane and memories to fade. By the time the truth emerges, if it ever does, the public attention will have moved on and the urgency for answers will have diminished. And that's exactly how bureaucracy survives scandals: slow, procedural, quiet, allowing the storm to pass without full disclosure. Stepping back, we're left with two competing stories, each offering a different perspective on the tragedy. The official story: a rare, unpredictable mechanical failure, an unfortunate but unavoidable accident. The emerging picture: an older aircraft with known structural problems, a history of issues that were seemingly overlooked. Fresh off major repairs, followed by catastrophic failure, a sequence of events that defies simple explanation. Backed by lawsuits alleging fleet-wide issues, suggesting a systemic problem rather than an isolated incident. And a preliminary investigation that narrows its focus to a single part, potentially obscuring a larger truth. Was Louisville an unavoidable tragedy, a random act of fate, or was it a preventable disaster born from a system where corporate profit and regulatory complacency outweighed human life? The families of the 14 people killed deserve more than a clean narrative. They deserve the whole truth, unvarnished and complete. And until the NTSB releases its final report, months or years from now, questions will continue to grow, fueling public skepticism. What do you think really happened in Louisville? Tell us your theory in the comments below. And for more investigations the mainstream media won't touch, make sure you're subscribed to The Right Slant.